What's up guys, FPV here, and today we are doing the Marmotte build, and I'm going to go over all the components that we're going to be using in this build, and I'm going to try to do this build in one video. Well, I already kind of prepared a lot of stuff, so hopefully it should go down pretty smooth. So what we're going to use for the motors, we're using the Zing 2207 2450 kV, these pink with little like dots and blue and yellow dots on them. Look really cool, so I went ahead and picked these up. I really like the design of the bell, and yeah, and it even has like red wire that comes off of it. Really do like this. So this is what we're using for our motors. And then for a video transmitter, we are using a good and trusty TBS Unify HV. Using something new that I haven't used yet, which is the Brain FPV Radix flight controller. And I'm also using a Speedix GS 40 amp, I believe it goes up to 6S ESC 4-in-1. And then of course I'm using Crossfire with it. And then what else are we using? Oh, and then we're also using the Foxier Predator V3, and this is the mini, not the micro. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is get this thing all set up. And I always like to do is start off with the motors. And as you can see, I already kind of put my stack. That's pretty much what you have to do with these builds, is kind of lay everything out, see how your flight controller is going to go on there, how your ESC. So I have a little standoff, actually not a standoff, but it's like a little washer type of thing on the bottom, just to keep the ESC from touching the carbon fiber. And then we have these cool little standoffs that I found at Pyrodrone. And I'll leave a link to those down in the description down below. They're metal, and you don't really have to worry about them conducting electricity since they're just touching the soft mounts on whatever they're touching, and it should not conduct electricity to your frame or nothing like that. So first thing first, like I said, I want to go ahead and mount my motors. Then what we're going to go ahead and do is probably just mount the plug on here, and I'm not going to put the XT60 because I am kind of unsure of how I'm going to mount that. I'm not sure if I'm going to kind of mount it to the side here, like right here, put the XT60 and zip tie it. I know it might not fit in here because I'm going to be using this Axi stubby, which I felt like it was going to be really nice in the back, really well protected. So let me go ahead and we'll start with the motors. So the motors, these motors come with pretty much everything. They come with a bolt, and they actually come with some screws too, which actually already have Loctite on them. So they're already pre-Loctited, so you don't even have to put Loctite on them, which is really nice. Real quality, nice quality motors here. So I'm going to go ahead and screw these in, and then go ahead and do here. We're going to put those suckers in there. Yeah, and we have plenty of space for a motor. You don't have to worry really about getting shorter screws or anything like that. They're not touching the windings or nothing like that. So I'm going to go ahead and screw these suckers on. And I'm not going to let you painstakingly watch me do all 4 motors the same way. So on to the next step. Alright, I got all the motors mounted onto the frame. And as you noticed, I actually already put some zip ties for the motor wires so they're nice and tucked in there and nice and tight. And I trimmed them back so we can go ahead and solder these things up. And pretty much how I'm going to route these wires is going right through the inside and come right through there. So let's go ahead and zoom in, and let's go ahead and start soldering these motor wires up to the ESC. Alright, I'm zoomed in, and we're going to go ahead and start tinning all the pads on the ESC. And like to go ahead and do is use some flux on the ESC itself. Helps get some nice solder joints and all that. Let me go ahead and get the solder pen working. This is the soldering pen I'm working. I also have this solder too, which you can use. This is really old stuff that I had lying around that I probably did need a new soldering. There we go. So go ahead and I'm actually gonna do all the pads on the ESC. Might as well, right? So go ahead and get some solder and start soldering these things. It's like my favorite part is soldering ESC like this. I love it. It's just so much fun. So what I'm going to do is start grabbing these wires, and I kind of already trimmed them all back, so all I have to do is just pretty much grab them, twist them around the standoff, like so. And just solder them on there. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and get some more flux before I forget. It's always good to put some more flux on. Never hurts. Alright. Now we're ready. I kind of leave it flat. I'm just going to kind of just let the like so. I'm really liking how that one is. I guess it's okay. Don't really like it. There should be a ball of solder on there. And it's not really liking me today, is it? Alright. So all of them are done. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck these wires, make sure they look alright. And I'm going to go ahead and do all of them, so you don't have to watch me do this on every single one, same way. And I'll probably clean them up, make them look nice. And we'll get right back to the next step of doing this Marmotte build. Alright, so I got all the motor wires soldered up to the ESC. So you see I went through the middle, came through this way. And what we're going to do next, I know I said I was going to go ahead and do the power lead first, but I was really looking at this quad, and I'm going to be putting the VTX back here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the VTX in now and just mount it back there with the SMA. And so you know, this right here, the one I'm using is for the TBS Unify. There's a different one for an SMA antenna, so use that one if you're using an SMA like adapter and not with the little screws that are on it like the TBS Unify does. So the first thing I have to do is I need to take this off so I can mount the actual TBS mount thing to it. So I'm going to take these out. And then it goes pretty much like this underneath, I believe. Or I guess you can go like that and just come through the back. I guess I didn't have to take it off, but I took it off. This is probably easier too if you ever need to get to the VTX, so go ahead and do it this way. So if you have the Unify, just screws into like that. It's a nice little adapter there. Tighten it all up. And let's put it back in. Those screws I took out. We'll go ahead and screw this in and then we'll be right back.
I got it all screwed in, and I already figured I'm going to come around. And if you look to how I did my TBS Unify, what I did is I soldered. You can't really see it on the video. Well, maybe you can, a little shiny spot there. I actually flipped the antenna around. Took off the heat shrink it back on because it does come with some extra heat shrink, and then soldered that part so this freaking thing can't go anywhere. So that was always a pain in the butt thing. And let me go ahead and get my where's that double-sided tape I had? There it is. Peel this off, and I want to put that in there, and I'm just going to pretty much put it back there like so, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the next step. Alright, so I got the VTX in there with the double-sided tape that comes with the TBS Unifies on the other side, so it's stuck in there. Might use a zip tie or something over it eventually. I did plug the plug in as well, and I figured while I'm at it, let's go ahead and put the camera in, and then we'll go ahead and do the power lead. So, one big thing with the Marmotte, and I actually seen someone do this as well. You know how like these because the mini camera is pretty much what can fit in here. You can probably fit a micro in there if you bend these camera savers in, because they are pretty much aluminum, and that's what they're meant for, to kind of take impacts and not destroy your camera like the Rooster or the Chameleon TI did. But one little tip is that cameras usually come with these little washers. Go ahead and put those in between your camera and then this part too. And it gives a little more friction too when you want to move the camera up and down, and it will hold the angle a little better. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that right now. Alright, I'm back. I got the camera mounted in there, and I actually did figure a little trick to get those little washers in there. Once you get one pain in the butt washer on there, then you can kind of lay it on the side to slide the washers underneath. And then you get it in there nice and tight, so this camera is not budging. So what I'm going to do next is do that power lead. Go ahead and just there we go. Nice good solder blob. I did not realize that you guys are so far away on the camera. Sorry about that. I think it's really all the way up. There it is. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is get the flight controller. Actually, before we do the flight controller, I always do this. Let's go ahead and... Now, this is a TBS Unify HV, and it likes VBAT. So we're going to give it VBAT. And that will be these two wires right here. And we can cut these real short, actually, too. So if I just cut it like right there. The Radix does not prefer to get power from it for the VTX because this draws too much current. Put those off. Clip these real quick. We'll go ahead and zoom in for you guys. That I do. Alright. Plus. And minus. I mean, that's plus and minus. Yeah. Do this one again because I don't really like how it flowed. Alright. So those are really tiny leads, but it doesn't really matter.
Let's make sure it's not touching nothing. No, that's good. Alrighty, we got that. And let's go ahead and put our capacitor on. Alright, I'm back, and I mounted the 1000 microfarad capacitor as well in the front. Just didn't have room in the back and did not look really good either, just hanging in the back all by itself. So I went ahead and put some leads underneath it, underneath the ESC, and we just put it in the front, and it actually fits up there pretty nicely and does not interfere with anything. So we got all that done. Now the only next thing we have to go ahead and do still is do the XT60 and then the flight controller. So I'm going to go ahead and mount the flight controller. Now with the Radix flight controller, you do have to, with the GS, SpeedX GS ESC, you do have to go ahead and rewire these harnesses, and I already went ahead and did that. That's why I've had it plugged in the entire time, so I know which side is what, because they're both 10-pin harnesses, but they are configured differently. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this like so. I'm going to make sure the arrow is pointing forward, and then that's going to also tell me how I'm going to go ahead and mount my wiring, because I want it kind of tucked in there nice and neatly. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is make sure nothing's really touching the flight controller itself. Might actually have to play with these parts a little bit more, but we should be able to go ahead and take it and plug it right in. And I already remember, you have to go ahead, if you're using this exact setup, you have to make sure that the pins that you're connecting this header to are the same exact ones on this one, and you will have to switch them around. I had to do it myself. Another thing too is really cool is that on these Radix flight controllers, if you didn't already, if you're using Crossfire, you can put a pin header right here, which I did, and you can go ahead and just mount your your receiver like that with some double-sided tape underneath it just to help support it, and then you just solder right there, and you pretty much it just stacks right on top of your flight controller. So that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. And we got the flight controller mounted with the hardware, so it's nice sitting in there. Everything's tucked real nice. So we just pretty much have to hook up the camera and the video transmitter to the flight controller. So these two wires right here, those are going from to the transmitter. That's one of the smart audio wires, and then the one's the video wire. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is get the yellow wire first and put that to video out. Hold on. My soldering iron decided to malfunction there. Alright. So our audio hooks up. So now we just have to do the camera. And I already trimmed these wires up. And then we're going to be connecting it to these pins right here. So video first. Alright, that's on there. Now we do 5 volt, which is going to be the... Oh, I'm in the shot. Dang it. Sorry about that. And then we're going to go ahead and do the... this wire here. This is the power. 5 volts to the camera. And then we have ground. Everything's tight and good. This one right here, I'm not hooking that up. If you wanted a camera control, you can hook that up to the Radix board, and that would go to this pin that I don't have any solder on. right there. But I don't like camera control because you have to use the stupid. I just usually just use it once and I'm done with it. So now what I'm going to do is get the XT60, and I'm going to actually just go ahead and solder on the receiver. Forgot about that. So get the sticky tape off the back of it. And then what's really cool with this thing is that it just slides into those pins, like so. So now I'm going to go ahead and solder on the XT60 to the back, and I'm just going to leave the length this long, and I can always kind of go back and use battery straps or whatnot to hold it. So I think that's a good length, honestly, and I really like how it kind of comes out the back on the Marmotte. Kind of, you can probably shorten this up and maybe even put an XT60 in there. Would that even work? No, it wouldn't. Nah, that sucks. Oh well. Alright, the only thing left now to do is just pretty much some zip ties onto like the capacitor, and then I get my session mount. Have to wait for that in the mail. I haven't gotten that yet just yet. So let's go ahead and fast forward to me going ahead and putting everything back together and showing you what it looks like. Alright, this is the finished Armattan Marmotte, and I got all my pieces. Got my GoPro session mount, and I got the Immortal T going through the back of it. Also got this really cool protector for the front, so it doesn't like skid and mess up the chrome, like the titanium in the front. And yeah, so I really like this frame, how it was laid out. It has these little holes here that you can also use for like zip ties and whatnot, besides just using them for stack screws. I use that for to pretty much mount the capacitor right at the front, and it fits in there really nicely. And yeah, so let's go ahead and do a weight real quick, see how much this thing actually weighs. The battery, the 1500 mAh battery, GoPro session, everything all up weight. And the props on it as well. 675 grams. That's actually pretty decent for a freestyle quad, considering how much the frame weighs. So yeah, I like it. So we'll have to go ahead and see how this thing flies, and I'll do that in another video upcoming real soon. It's starting to get warmed up here in Arkansas, so I'm going to be able to start doing some more flying, and hopefully I can bring out my wing and eventually get that video done. But yeah, so that is pretty much the Armattan Marmotte. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll leave video pretty much links to every single part I use down in the video description. And if you do use those links, they are affiliate links. They do help out the channel a lot. Just remember, those things do not cost you any more money using an affiliate link. It just costs the retailer more, so their margin gets a little smaller. But if this video helped you out, it helps you out what you want to pick, definitely use those links. And I'll see you guys in another video, and look forward to the flight. Peace.